Okay. Okay. Now, this is the first time I've ever done this on YouTube. My computer is just nuts slow. Nuts slow. I just did my hair too. My computer is nuts slow. So I'm trying to it's a stupid Dell computer. So just bear with me. Okay. First things first. Technical stuff is not my strong point. I was under the impression. Oh, wait. Here's a live chat. Here we go. Okay. So that's part one. Part one was the microphone. Part two, I have no ability to test out whether any of this works or not until someone logs in and tells me what's going on. Okay, there's some buttons here. Oh, I had to sit through the longest wait time ever. It was like a whole 5 minutes waiting for this thing to crank up. Don't ever get a Dell computer. Whatever you do, don't ever get a Dell computer. Don't do that to yourself. Okay, so just bear with me 1 second. Trying to just make sure everything. Ooh. Don't ever get a Dell computer. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm getting pop-ups. Dell computers are just awful. Okay. It was my hope I could put up a PDF also using this. But I am looking. I don't exactly see a PDF thingy here. So I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not. Okay, well, and I'm also seeing it says my microphone is not it's not on either. So okay, so there's several things I need to test, and I can't test them now. You're either hearing me through my microphone, or you're hearing me through the webcam here, and more than likely the webcam audio isn't that great, as I was told, which is why I bought this. Except that to have a microphone, you have to plug the microphone into the microphone jack, right? Which is in the back, not in the front. So, but now it's suddenly saying it doesn't work. I'm not sure what that's about. Okay, well then maybe we won't really bother with this. As long as people can hear me, it's fine. Hey, actually, let's do that. Is anybody here? If anybody's here right now, please type in hi or a hey, so that way you can help me out with this audio business. It just keeps saying the speaker headset is unplugged. Let's see. Okay, bear with anybody watching this video. I should probably be more good at technical stuff, but I'm not, because I'm human. I have a PhD and 3 master's degrees, but nobody taught me how to deal with this stuff. Okay, now when that happens, the speaker thing comes on, but I have no way of knowing. There's just no way for me to know if my audio is the webcam or not. Okay, well, there's no way to know. Someone would have to log in and tell me. And, let's see. Okay, now I can see it is the webcam right now. It's the webcam. But if so I did that. That doesn't seem to do anything, really. That doesn't do anything. And then if I put this into the microphone jack in the back, everything just kind of goes, let's see, hold on. So it says microphone, but then it doesn't actually do anything. Okay, I promise you I'm not going to hang on this for much longer. incredibly unhelpful computer here. Thank you so much for not offering me the info I needed to make a decision really quickly and fix this problem. Okay. I also love that when you click on help, instead of actually opening the browser you use all the time, it opens a totally different browser that you never use. Ain't that great? Okay, well, look, I'll figure this out over time. So this is my first time using YouTube. I guess I should just say welcome for anybody watching this. My name is Donnie, or Dr. Donnie. And as of a few months ago, I got my name legally changed to Dr. Donnie, or to Donnie. But my original name was Donovan Caesar, which is also the name of this YouTube channel. And I am a college professor, a sociology professor at CSU East Bay in Hayward. And I teach sociology, I teach race, class, gender, sexuality, and I teach childhood sociology, childhood issues, childhood stuff, and the sociology of education. And in that process, that has led me towards this thing that's called social emotional learning, which is another way of saying teaching people about how to connect to their feelings. Okay. I also have a master's degree in psychology, cognitive psychology from the University of Toronto. And I am going back to school as of next week to get another master's degree in counseling so I can get a second career as a high school counselor so I can make enough money to afford living here in the Bay Area. Okay. You'd think just one job as a college professor who is soon to get tenure would be enough to survive the Bay Area. And no, it ain't. Yeah, so welcome to that. I'm smiling right now. I had a really huge nap before I woke up and did all this today. So that's why I'm smiling. Okay, so I'm seeing, it says there are 2 people here. So there's a few things that I would like to kind of do some research on. Okay. One is I really wanted to be able to upload something to share with all of you, but I am not seeing where I would do that. So I may have to hold back on that for today. Well, hey, the main point of this is to get the technology together. If you looked at my previous videos, the webcam and the audio was all off. So I got a new webcam. We're good on that. I'm going to figure out how this microphone thing works between now and next week. Okay. I will advertise and post this to more people. And the whole point of this is to post it so that way you can just log on and look at it and get the information you need. Ideally, it would be nice if someone logged on so we could work on things together, but that is absolutely not the requirement of this. It's all self-directed therapy or self-directed help here. The main purpose of this class is a whole bunch of exercises to help you deal with your thoughts and feelings. A lot of people are dealing with a lot of stuff right now because of COVID-19 and the social unrest and the racism and then just life and the Bay Area and the money struggle and everything else. So I wanted to offer this information to be free for everyone. So that way you can use this to help. Hopefully it will help you get your life together. And, I wish I was better at all this technical stuff, but I'll get better at it over time. I'm going to be doing this on a weekly basis from now until I put enough stuff out here. So there you go. All the material that we're going to talk about today comes from a workbook I put together called The Book of You. I am currently putting this together. It's a series of about 20 exercises to help people deal with their thoughts and feelings. So every video we watch will be coming from The Book of You. Okay. What we're talking about today, this class called Emotions for Dummies, is a series of exercises, the first half of The Book of You, which is a course, which is essentially a college course I teach, where the first half is about learning to connect to your emotions and questioning thoughts. And the second half is what's called inner child work. Okay, so if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, or you think you might really benefit from the help, stay tuned. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't have a whole lot to say. I mean, I know who I am, right? So feel free to Google me if you don't believe me on any of that stuff. I really wanted to be able to pull up a PDF, but I'm not seeing the ability to do that here. Oh, look, someone typed something in. Hello. I am not seeing the ability to upload the file I wanted to upload. So I don't know if I can't do that or not. Would you all hate me if I take 2 seconds to Google this up? That's it. Oh, you're right. I can put the PDF in the Google Drive and give the Drive link on the video description. Yes, that's a great idea. It is on Google Drive. Yeah, it sure is. Okay, well, great. All right, so everybody just hang tight for just a couple more minutes. Anyone with this link can view, copy link. Okay, so here you go. I'm gonna post this here. And then maybe I'll post it a few more times throughout the chat in case anybody needs to access it. Although I guess if you come here and log on and look at this, it would be right here because it saves the chat, right? That much I know. I've watched a few live stream things on YouTube. Okay, so it's right there. All the information you need actually for the next 4 classes is all right here in this thing called Emotions for Dummies. Okay, so I'm going to read the workbook here. And for those of you seeing this video, I would encourage you to either click on the Google Doc and read along with us, or honestly, if you're like tired, maybe this is late in the day for you or in the middle of the night. I often watch a lot of YouTube videos in the middle of the night when I can't sleep. I would just really encourage you to just listen. I'm going to read everything. You can just close your eyes, let yourself sleep, and I will read all the material. And then if you need to read something in more detail later, you can just pick it up later. Okay? Whatever's easy for you, keep it easy. Okay? And then between now and next week, I will figure out what to do about this issue. But no worries, no worries. Okay, so let's, since it's just me here and one other person other person logged out. Okay, well, it's just me here. Let's get started. Okay, so you can't, like I said, if you can't see this, I'm just going to explain some things here. But in this Emotions for Dummies class, there are, it's a 4-week class. So week 1, which is today, is the self-care plan, an intro to mindfulness meditation, how to tell yourself the truth, and healing from trauma. Okay. And it's my show here, so I don't have to go through all that today. And maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. But that's generally the idea of what everything's included in week 1. Then week 2, we discuss an emotions list. We have an exercise on self-love, acceptance, and validation. And then what's called a Byron Katie Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. Okay, that's a wonderful thing. You can YouTube who Byron Katie is. Week 3 is a meditation on emotions called Emotional Vipassana and a body scan meditation. Okay, so it's 2 long meditations. And then week 4 is putting it all together into this thing I call the Ego Killer, which is the midterm in all my classes. The Ego Killer. Okay. So So yeah, so the idea is it all builds up together. You learn how to do a bunch of stuff week 1, how to dig into your feelings week 1. You get a little deeper week 2. Week 3 is even deeper than that, and then week 4 is putting it all together. So it's really the deepest part there. Okay. And the beautiful thing about this is you can learn all of this in whatever order you like. I'm going to set this up so you learn all of it 1 week at a time in a gradual sort of way. If for whatever reason you happen to, only show up on week 4, that is okay, because I will be guiding us through every single part of this. Okay, every single part of this. Okay. And I'm saying all this the way I'm saying it because this is basically what I'm going to say every video. So people watching this know what they're getting into. Okay. Okay, so today let's just let's start with our self-care plan. Okay, emotions are hard. Okay, so emotions bring up all sorts. Talking about emotions, making space to feel our feelings can bring up all sorts of things. And so if you're taking any class on dealing with emotions, it's really important to think about what are the things you can and can't handle. Okay, so that way you know the topics that you can approach and the topics that may be better for you to approach some other day or next year. When you feel you're more capable of handling your feelings, right? We always want to acknowledge what we can deal with today and work through it in baby steps to get to something bigger. Okay, so ask yourself these questions, okay? Take a moment and think of a few things that would trigger you. We all have a list, and most of us are pretty cognizant of what that list is. So make a list of maybe 4 or 5 things that trigger you, and then decide if you do want to tackle those things or deliberately avoid them. Okay, so for example, Donald Trump showing up on TV triggers me pretty easily. People who engage in what I would call stupidity, when it's a life or death issue over someone else, that's something that triggers me very, very easily. People who are very flippant with other people's lives, that triggers me very easily. Okay, so I might make a decision that today may not be the day to talk about Donald Trump. I might have to save that for next week, maybe. I know if I can handle Donald Trump, because I'm, pretty comfortable talking about him and getting mad about him lately, but I do not want to tackle my issues with my mother. Well, that's okay. Just know that. So that way, that's the place I don't want to go. So that way I can, because this is all about self-care, taking care of ourselves. So just be mindful of what you can and can't handle. Okay. Even hearing these words can hopefully prime you to just being more conscious about this sort of thing. Okay, the next question is, when I feel something I can't handle, what do you honestly do? Now, the idea here is to give yourself the honest thing that you do, and then your healthier option. Okay, because that's what this is all about, right? So if you feel something you can't handle, what is the honest thing that you do? Do you scream and cry and blame everyone else? When you feel something you can't handle, do you go drinking, get really stoned? Whatever it is, be honest. What do you do when you feel something you can't handle? Okay, and then what would be the healthier option? Okay, when I feel something I can't handle, I often binge eat, junk food, overeat, get drunk. A healthier option would be to pause, when I'm eating, so I can just process the feelings. Ask myself, do I really need to eat all this food? Drink half as much as I normally would drink. Call a friend instead of drinking. Get more sleep. Decide to rest instead of reaching for drugs. Okay. And those things might be lofty goals wherever you are right now. That might be something that maybe you can't do in this moment. But who knows? You made a list. You made a list of what you're honestly going to do. And you made yourself conscious of what your other options are. So maybe you can't do that today, but you never know. Maybe next week you can. Next month you can. Next year you can. Because you made it conscious, you're developing a conscious awareness of what your healthier options are, okay? Okay, so the next one is, when I can tell I'm about to cry, what is your honest go-to? Yeah, I added that one because, there's I can't handle this, and then there's about to cry, which is, for most of us, total breakdown. So what is your honest go-to? What do you honestly do when you're about to cry? Okay, I run away. I hide myself in my room. I just shake all over. Okay. And then what would be the healthier option? Maybe grabbing tissues, giving myself a hug. Again, finding someone to call. Okay, these are just things to think about, okay? And number 4 is, what would you like to work on? Maybe being more patient, not running away so much from my feelings. Whatever it is, just if there's something you have a goal you'd like to work on, just be conscious of what that is too, okay? Okay, so that is the self-care plan. And whatever you'd like to add on to that for your own needs, please do, because that's the idea here, is to work on your own self-care, okay? No one else other people can come into your life and offer you care, but only you can offer you self-care, really, right? So this is all about building our ability to develop more and more and more self-care. If you can only think of maybe 3 things you can do to take care of yourself, that's great. But if you can build that up one day into 30 things you can do, well, that's even better. Okay, so that is the self-care plan. And the next part of this is intro to mindfulness meditation, because, I have no idea if anybody here has ever even meditated before, and I don't want to make any assumptions. And a big part of how this method works is meditation, because meditation is all about sinking into your inner life and getting in touch with your thoughts and feelings. So for that reason, and because I have been a Buddhist since I was 20 years old, so I've been meditating for 18 years now. So I'm just a big believer in it. Okay, so like always, like I said, you're free to read along, or you are more than welcome to close your eyes, let this information bypass the brain and go into the heart. Okay, mindfulness is about examining your quality of life. Most of the time, we are caught up in doing things, but we are not human doings, we are human beings. Thus, when we examine our lives with mindfulness, we are moving deeper into our state of being in the world. For example, we use our phones to do things like send messages or check email quickly. With mindfulness, we take time to examine the things we do. So we may examine each button we press, each letter we type, the layout of the app, etc. This is about examining the quality of what we are doing, not just the doing of it. In traditional old school meditation, we develop mindfulness by sitting in silence and being with our thoughts. The idea here is that eventually you will learn to treat yourself with compassion. The story of the Buddha is that he was a naive prince who left his palace and saw suffering or stress in the world and vowed to end it. After several failed attempts, he sat underneath a tree and began to sink into his thoughts. And from this, he came to realize that wanting things, desire, is what led to suffering. Today, we would expand this to say that 1, thought is not real. Thinking and imagination are the same thing. but the first reduces, represses, while the other expresses and unrepresses. 2, thoughts, beliefs, concepts shape what we think is reality. The brain only responds to thoughts, not reality. So technically, imagination makes reality, like a hologram on top of reality. So 3, all stress comes from believing thoughts that don't line up with reality. What happens in life is information. Our feelings about it come from our unconscious use of the 5 frustrations of life: our assumptions and expectations, beliefs and attachments, judgments and comparisons, preferences and requirements, and attempts to manipulate and control things beyond our ego. Okay, let me close this door, since I don't know how well my microphone is performing anyway. Okay, so that's some pretty deep stuff there. That there alone, right? Thought is not real. Thoughts, beliefs, and concepts shape what we think is reality. So all stress comes from believing thoughts that don't line up with reality. Okay. The human brain is truly amazing. It has 2 major sections: our frontal lobe, which is responsible for abstract thought, planning, judgment, and our back brain, the limbic system and amygdala, which processes emotions. This part is also more connected to our spinal cord, heart, and stomach, which research also shows have neurons surrounding them that create our deep in the heart feelings and gut reactions. In fact, our brains have 100 billion neurons, making 10,000 connections with each other, doing 50 processes at the same time. Unfortunately, that means the human mind can think 80,000 thoughts a day, or 1.5 thoughts a second. Worse, 98% of those thoughts are just repeated over and over. Even worse, some argue that 80% of those thoughts are negative. Add to this the fact that only 20% of the brain is conscious, the other 80% is unconscious, and it's clear how our mind can be our worst enemy. Putting a bunch of unconscious negative thoughts on repeat guarantees you will focus on what you lack, blocking your ability to be open-minded, question anything, or develop stillness and mindfulness. In contrast, Buddhism offers cultivating positive thoughts of gratitude and thankfulness. Genuinely finding the good, and especially the good in what we think is bad, shifts our mind into a friend, or a space of more support and possibility. These days, modern physics, spiritual people, and hippies all agree that with the creation of the Big Bang came the creation of consciousness itself. Despite that, many people feel that meditation is boring. Well, it is. When we meditate, we are boring into our inner universe, which is just as vast as the outer universe. So, boredom brings us to the kingdom. Each person is a total inner universe of things separate from other people. It is our inner world that shapes how we make sense of our outer world. So to help us deal with our thoughts and feelings, and to greatly expand our consciousness, in this class we will learn a variety of techniques for developing mindfulness. Okay, so let's meditate a little bit here, next 10 minutes or so. And I guess I'll just read the instructions since they're here and all. Let's stop what you're doing and come to the present moment. No need to think about the past or the future. You can keep your eyes open or closed. If closing your eyes is triggering or uncomfortable, keep them open. Number 2, bring mindfulness to your breathing. How are you breathing right now? Fast or slow? Deep or shallow? Slow down and deepen your breath. The breath is the best anchor we have for staying in connection with ourselves. Yes, because the breath keeps you connected to the present moment, whether you like it or not. You're always breathing. Well, until you're dead, So you can always tap into it. But I suppose if you're dead, then all of this stuff isn't really a problem. Your feelings aren't really a problem if you're dead. So, or as much as I would know, as much as anyone knows anyway. And so just notice your breathing. Notice your breathing. And if you're willing, see if you can slow it down. Whew. Notice if you are thinking. What are you thinking about? How does it make you feel? Hey, you know what? I'm actually thinking a lot about how I'm going to fix this audio equipment, how I'm going to get this computer set up to run better. What can I do to get more people onto this YouTube channel? Those are the thoughts that are kind of running through my mind as I'm trying to relax and meditate and lead this workshop. How do those thoughts make me feel? They make me feel stressed out. Yeah. And every single one of them is about not being connected to the present moment. They're all about what I'm going to do when this video is over or tomorrow. So whatever happens today, whatever would happen in this moment right now, these thoughts are something I could choose to put away for later. I'm really just stressing myself out because I wanted everything to kind of be perfect and set up and ready to go. But I got no control over that. So this is about control. Okay. Can you release the thought and return to stillness, inner silence, and peace? This time around, I think I can. Those are all thoughts I can put away for later. Also, I'm very happy I got this far. This has all been through all my own effort. I'm very happy I got this far. If not, can you bring mindfulness to what you are feeling? Yeah, I'm feeling some frustration. Can you locate it in your body, name it, and observe it without placing judgment or trying to change it? That's not easy. I felt that frustration, and then I thought I should just talk myself out of it just now, put it away till later. But could I just notice the frustration without trying to change it? That's not easy at all. It's like it reminds me of like holding. You ever hold like a really hot bowl of soup or a hot potato? You have to kind of like do a little dance of tossing it around from one hand to the other, or moving your fingers around so that the tips of your fingers don't burn. That's what holding frustration feels like for me. But can I hold it? Yeah, I can hold it. And maybe it has something to teach me instead of telling myself I should just ignore it, put it away. I shouldn't feel this way. It's very hard to hold these sorts of things without judgment. There's a part of me that's screaming, I don't like this. This feeling hurts. How well can you just sit with your feelings? That feeling's been there all this time, all day, probably been there for years. It's been sitting with me all this time while I I ignored it? How well can I just sit with this feeling? You might notice all sorts of thoughts begin to emerge, trying to push you away from the feeling, explain the feeling away. When I bring mindfulness to this feeling, I notice how deeply embedded it is in my brain. I notice how much of it is connected to my brain instead of my body. It's not a pain in my body. This frustration I feel. And I guess I could say I also notice it's deeply embedded, meaning I've got all sorts of walls to protect me from having to really feel it. I also notice how much, if I try to describe this feeling, how quickly I move into negative terms, like it's unpleasant, it's tight, constricting, it's painful. These things all have negative, These things all have negative connections for me. So, noticing how much I judge this feeling also. Okay, so number 4 was, how long can you sit in this state of doing nothing, this state of nothingness? When you are ready, you can open your eyes. Now, can you apply this mindfulness to your life? Try with your phone, the commute home, the next argument you have. This is the real practice. Okay, so in my classes, usually I make my students open their eyes and then take a look at their phone and apply mindfulness to their phone. So I'll describe that right now. But let's say you opened your eyes. If you didn't, feel free to keep your eyes closed and stay in your inner world. But to apply putting some mindfulness into the outer world, you could, for example, grab your phone or some object that you do everyday stuff around that you may not put a lot of consciousness into, and then apply some consciousness to all of this. So, for example, I grab my phone. I'm now looking at all the little streaks on the glass. I'm noticing the shape of the buttons. I'm noticing the glare on the edge of the phone. Little hairs on the glass. The camera at the top, the microphone, the volume buttons. The feel of the phone in my hand, the coldness of the material that the case. I could even notice the way my 2 hands are holding the phone together. The position of my thumb ready to swipe. I notice my brain going into a process of what do I have to do to access this phone? Press this button, swipe this thing, enter your passcode. Then, where the layout of all my apps will be, the that they log into Google or check out Facebook. The whole mental process already there, embedded in my brain. Okay, so that can be stressful, actually, Like all I did was grab the phone and that mental process clicked in. So that can be really stressful. Look how far ahead mentally I've moved when in the present moment, all I've done is just grab the phone. How many times in life do we mentally already process a whole conversation with someone else and the conversation hasn't even happened yet? We just assume we know how the other person is going to respond, right? That's all extra mental stress. The universe didn't put that in us. That's all childhood programming and mental stress. Okay. Now, using the phone example, I'm noticing the push of the button, how much work it took to push the button. I'm noticing how fast the phone comes on. I'm noticing the colors. I'm noticing it's all in English. The words are all in English. I'm noticing I have 6 messages and how quickly I clicked on those messages. I'm looking at all the unread messages I have, or the people who didn't hit me up. Just logging into my my texting app is just showing me all these thoughts start popping into my head that quickly, right? And all I did was the only conscious thought I had was, hey, let me turn the phone on and look at who texted me. But actually doing that brought up a whole underworld of thoughts about who's texting me, who's not texting me, why didn't they text me? This person texted me too much. This message I really could be deleting at this point. I thought this person would respond back, but they didn't. Bunch of things like that. So just notice your mind. Notice the gyrations your mind are going through. Just notice. Notice how my eyes take in all the apps. I don't think about that Facebook app. I just click on it and go straight to reading stuff. But, just take a moment and actually just look at the Facebook app. A lowercase f. If I had asked you before now, does the Facebook app have a lowercase f? Would you have even known the answer to that question? Okay. So, another thing I could do, just for the fun of it, I can see what it's like to turn the phone off. Pressing the button that makes the screen go black. Suddenly having this feeling of, oh, I don't need to access this anymore. Yeah. The feel of my left hand, because the moment I have that thought, the next thought is close. Like I'm closing the case. I'm putting the case down onto the table. Okay, so there's a whole world of thought that happened at just picking up the phone. Okay, whole world of thought from just picking up the phone. Okay, so now if I apply that to school, if I apply that to anything else in life, it's going to give me just as much richness as it did with the phone. Okay. Now you might have seen me do all that and go, well, geez, that seemed kind of hard. And, it wasn't easy. It took a lot of patience. So one thing you may want to think about is how much patience do you have? Because sitting with your feelings takes a lot of patience. Dealing with people takes a lot of patience. So dealing with you will take a lot of patience. Learning how to develop patience is a lifelong skill. Okay. But it's worth noticing. How much patience do you have or don't you have at any given moment? Okay, for yourself. Whew, okay, so that is how to meditate. That is the intro to meditation. Anybody watching this video, I would just encourage you, there was a time in my life I meditated for an hour every day. I have to be honest. I just think it's super useful to do it here and there. 5 minutes here and there throughout the day. stop everything, and just return back to your breath. Baseline, return back to your breath. I cannot say enough for how much I've gotten out of just being able to do that. But you'll be amazed how many times you'll be working, killing yourself to get something done. And if you take 5 minutes to back away, you'll go, oh, wow, I really need to be kinder to myself. Oh, I could just eat a meal and tackle this tomorrow. There was that party going on. I mean, I didn't want to go because I'm so busy, but I could just go. And then like I said, tomorrow I could do all this. I have no real plans tomorrow. I could cancel something else, or, I've been working so hard and I was just going to just keep working, but maybe now's the time to go get me a nice meal and a massage. And then tomorrow, again, I take this up again tomorrow. You'll just be amazed at how just taking 5 minutes to breathe, what that can do to help you get in touch with yourself, to help you be your own best friend. Okay, simple little things. Okay, actually, on that note, because we have a few things we're going to do, so let's keep moving. I want this video to have lots of stuff so people can access it. Future videos might just focus on one thing, and then it'll be a really short video. But I want to really give people as much resources as possible. Okay. So, like I said, we did the self-care plan. We have an intro to mindfulness meditation, and then we have 2 other exercises we're going to do, which is healing from trauma, and then how to tell yourself the truth. I think for today's purposes, we're going to start with trauma. Let's go ahead and just talk about trauma. Okay. Okay. So, that was the meditation section there. This is a section on discussing trauma. Okay. I'm going to read through a wonderful handout on. Maybe I should just do this in separate sections. What do you think? 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 This is all about emotions. This is a lot of information for one shot. For one shot. But it's kind of done this way intentionally because this is all stuff people need to know. But this is a lot of information. I wonder if I can maybe in future episodes I'll break this up into sections, separate sections. Well, actually, just so you know, I teach this as a college course. So when I teach it as a college course, we go through each one of these worksheets once a week. I'm sorry, we go through one worksheet a week. So that way it's not too overwhelming. But you have the ability to just pause this video. So if you felt like that meditation was enough for you, then just pause the video and take up the rest of it later. Okay? If not, though, then we're going to keep moving. Okay. So this is the part on trauma. Trauma is super important because many of us have been through traumatic experiences, and it makes it very difficult for us to access our feelings. Okay. So there's a handout here I'm going to read on trauma, and then there's some trauma releasing exercises that I'm going to run through. Okay. Okay, here we go. Trauma is defined as an experience or event that overwhelms your capacity to depend on or protect yourself, leaving you with feelings of terror, horror, and helplessness. Since the body processes physical and emotional pain the same way, physical trauma and emotional trauma are the same thing. Sure, a family death or car accident, but also things like road rage in our commute, getting bad news we didn't expect, or suddenly remembering something painful from the past. Other kinds of trauma can be cultural, like sexism, historical, like transatlantic African slavery, or psychic, like being told you would never amount to anything in the future. Trauma can leave us with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, where our brain copes by developing flashbacks, easily startled, nightmares, and difficulty concentrating or eating or sleeping. Repeated trauma, however, like child abuse, domestic violence, or war, is more complicated. So it leads to CPTSD, complex PTSD, where instead of trying to cope, our brains learn to shut off, go numb, and forget, or go unconscious, and put up walls around our feelings so we don't have to constantly re-experience the pain. That's what I was feeling earlier. Trauma hits the pre-verbal areas of the brain, leaving us howling in fear or frozen in silence. These symptoms are often misdiagnosed as other things when we don't acknowledge the trauma. While these coping mechanisms may have kept you safe when the trauma was happening, as adults, they can keep us stuck in survival mode, afraid of the world, and unable to move on and really live life. Healing from trauma is literally one of the hardest things to do. These feelings can resurface at any time, and trauma can make it hard to even open to the idea of help altogether. We have to relearn developmental milestones like basic trust, faith in the world, learning self-confidence, self-compassion, healthy boundaries, identity formation, even the ability to relax. As someone healing from trauma, that is so true. After a lifetime of protecting yourself psychologically and physically to survive, you now have to dismantle all the defenses, protections, problematic behaviors, and habits in your life. Other people, even friends and loved ones who haven't been through or don't acknowledge their trauma, may be unable to understand or validate what you are going through. Often our trauma is connected to our relationships with people who are supposed to love us. So people in itself can be re-traumatizing. Healing from trauma is not a linear one and done process. It takes a lot of time and a lot of rest. Also, we have to heal as life goes on. So doing this healing work can feel like having a second job. This is so true. Good news is we already survived the worst of it, the trauma itself. The key to healing is to acknowledge what happened, what didn't or should have happened, and how did you cope with it all. To heal, we move repeatedly through 5 phases: preparation, unintegration, identification, integration, and consolidation. Okay, so before I explain these 5 steps, I just want to say I don't think I mentioned this, but I am somebody healing from trauma. In short, I grew up in a really homophobic, conservative environment. In recent years, last 3 years of my life, some family secrets came up that has resulted in me and my family deciding to to not continue having an adult relationship. That has resulted in bringing up all sorts of childhood wounds that I had blocked up that I've had to heal. So it's been about 2-3 years now of healing, nonstop healing, to get in touch with nonstop healing. And that's actually what led to the creation of all these classes and my interest in social emotional learning also. Okay, so I'm saying all that to say, I am healing from trauma as we speak, and I have healed from a shit ton of trauma, which is the reason why I have put this together. Okay. Just want you to know, no BS. Okay. So step number 1 is preparation. Okay, preparation. Develop an awareness of your thoughts and feelings. Check in with yourself. Okay, that's self-care plan, right? Assess and store your internal and external resources, like your physical, emotional health, and safety. What do you really need or definitely don't need so that you can handle these feelings? Okay, and this can take a while and can make you nervous if your trauma was connected to being silent or staying unaware to stay safe. Showing up for you and finding dependable others teaches us to relearn trust, which lets us feel safe, be willing to explore, have hope and gratitude, and to be patient and persevere. Things we might not have gotten in our lives. Okay, so all that's basically the self-care plan, right? Check in with yourself. Number 2, unintegration. To heal, we have to give ourselves permission to totally fall apart and regress back to being a child, back to when we were innocent. Find a safe space where you can let down all the walls without the need to pull yourself together. This will move the numbness and bring up all the broken pieces of pain, fear, and fear of feeling, helplessness, shame, violated boundaries, and attachment wounds. So straight up, it's gonna feel totally shitty. Expect to be caught off guard, irritable, off balance, uncomfortable, and scared. You can even temporarily lose the ability to speak, like for a day or two. Children do this very well, but as adults, we train ourselves to be in control and keep it together all the time, so we don't give our brain a true chance to reset and relearn. Use trust and safety to see what you can handle, and then slowly learn to handle a little more. This will create a container so that you can heal and still manage your daily life. Okay, letting yourself totally fall apart. Okay. Next is identification. After working with the pure feelings, okay, let me just say this first. So first of all, okay, you have to give yourself permission to totally fall apart. That's not easy, okay? I made a decision in December to just start taking naps. Like, you know, not just, oh, maybe I'll take a nap at noon, but I always take a nap at noon. In fact, actually, as of December, I decided to just eat breakfast, take a nap, do some work, you know, work till lunch, take another nap, wake up, do some more work, this kind of thing. I've just decided rest is so important, just to let myself nap as much as possible. And it has been absolutely transformatory for me to sleep that much. Okay. Some of us are workaholics and we're always just busy. But like what I've learned from doing all this work is that keeping busy keeps you from healing. You need to relax in order to heal. Okay. Okay, and relax is not just, oh, I'll finally sit down after running myself crazy. I'll finally sit down and drink a glass of wine and watch some TV. Okay, that's like just starting to relax. Relax can actually be, you know, hey, today I don't do anything today. I stay in bed all day and sit with my feelings. Or, I turn the TV off. Or, it's asking yourself, what would deep relaxation be for you? Not just the superficial kind, you know. My mother used to always, she'd watch Nickelodeon, Nick at Night, the old cowboy shows. She'd watch that, make food, clip coupons, read a hair magazine, and talk to us. And she would do that was her relaxation time. Okay. Okay. So that's not really relaxing is the point I'm making there. And it was for her. It absolutely was for her. And I'm going to argue that if you would like to heal from your trauma, you'd have to dig a lot deeper than that. Okay. You got to be willing to teach yourself how to relax a lot more than that. My mother was someone who couldn't relax very much because of her trauma. Okay. So now that's the unintegration part. Okay, now part 3 is identification. After working with the pure feelings, we can discuss our trauma story and coping mechanisms. Okay, so just note, the last step, unintegration, is about just the feelings, letting yourself have a breakdown, okay? And then the next step is actually going into the story. You don't need to go into the story when you're having the breakdown. You can just have the feelings and then go into the story later. Okay? Trauma messes with all forms of memory. The story of our trauma can be an adult retelling with coherent sentences, or it may be childhood fragments of words, sounds, smells, and emotions. Sometimes it helps to reenact the story, not just speak it, to get the feelings out. Recognize the abuse and neglect. Excuse me. If you can't make sense of a feeling, ask, what would someone listening to me feel? Focus on what is true for you. Believe you, support you. This takes time and practice, so go slowly so you don't feel like your world is falling apart. You can fall back into lots of feelings of grieving, worry, and doom. So it's okay to go back to unintegration. Okay. And then coping mechanisms, identifying those coping mechanisms. A coping mechanism is something we engage in to feel safe, or so we don't have to deal with feelings we don't like. Our first coping mechanism is usually other people, then fight or flight, then freeze or collapse. Literally anything can be a coping mechanism, like disconnecting from feelings or the present moment, hypervigilance, extreme rules that keep you safe, or extreme emotional walls that let no one in, obsessive or compulsive thinking, constantly fidgeting or checking your phone, living constantly in your imagination, drugs, food, and sex, constantly staying busy, constantly talking to yourself, codependent relationships, always people-pleasing, always feeling helpless, afraid to feel altogether, being super critical to ourselves or others, being stuck on negative and always expecting the worst, extreme narcissism, bullying others, relentlessly hoping things could have been different or better or not really true or as bad as you remember, social isolation, etc. That's a big one for me and for lots of us right now. All of these things allow us to stay in denial about how the abuse we suffered is affecting us now. Allow yourself to identify them and how they make you feel. Remember, we develop these habits to survive. So be thankful to yourself and be kind to any resistance or walls you may have also. Okay. Okay, so using that list, you may want to go through that list and just identify any coping mechanisms you have. If I went through this list again, mine would be hypervigilance is one I struggle with. Drugs, food, and sex. Sex, not so much, but drugs and food. Sex was one back in the day, but not so much these days. I worked on that one. Constantly staying busy, though. Constantly talking to myself. Codependent relationships was a big one at one point. Being super critical. Always expecting the worst, especially right now. Okay, social isolation. So I got several of these coping mechanisms. And I'm pretty sure as I was reading this, you also identified several of them too. It's a wonderful thing because being conscious of those things means we can follow them so we can understand what's really going on inside of ourselves and get in touch with it. Okay? Once you get in touch with the feelings and the thinking that you had underneath it all, the coping mechanism isn't nearly as big a deal, that has been my experience. Okay, next is integration. Integration. Okay, so as you notice, you prepare yourself for these feelings. Then you let yourself fall apart and have the feelings. Then you go into what is the story about what happened, why you're doing it, coping mechanisms. Then the next one is integration. Now we can start to create a new story and find healthier ways to deal with our feelings in life. How can we retell our trauma story in a way that empowers us and acknowledges how we really feel? We can use our imagination to question our assumptions and retell the story, but include all the things that we wished would have happened instead so we can give ourselves the love and support we wanted. This is called reparenting ourselves. We can also question our inner voice, our inner critic that we developed from our caregivers that may not be serving us well. This is also the time to question all of those coping mechanisms. What works, what doesn't, what would serve you better? All this takes practice, like baby steps, or moving from a bad first draft towards something better and better. So be patient and understand and try like a child, without judgment and full of play. Learn to express yourself in all kinds of new ways so that you can feel freedom, wonder, and possibility. Take back your right to say no, make mistakes, and change your mind. Listen to other people's trauma stories. Oh, the cat's here. You want to go outside? Hold on a second. Okay, so needless to say, you have a breakdown, you let it all out, you identify the coping mechanisms and what happened to you. And notice only then, after that, you start to evaluate how you felt about it and what can you do better. Okay? That doesn't happen until the final end. So the big part of it is just letting the feelings out. And then finally, in this integration phase, you start to go, okay, well, this abuse happened to me and I say they hurt me. What's another way I could say that would be more empowering? Empowering. They hurt me and then I took that information and did what to myself, for example. Because I was so bitter because of their abuse, I treated other people this kind of way. This sort of thing, okay? When I go back and imagine the abuse that occurred, can I reimagine the abuse instead of imagining what I remember happening? Just it's my imagination, right? I mean, the actual abuse happened 20-something years ago. So how can I reimagine it? What would it even feel like to reimagine it if I got what I had wanted instead? So for example, I can think of one time my mother made me kneel on rice as a punishment. Okay. When I go back and revisit this, I can choose to, using my imagination, I can choose to see the argument, see the moment she told me, she demanded me to kneel on this rice. And I see myself standing up to her and telling her I'm not going to do it. And I kick the rice all over the floor. And, let's be honest, and had I did that in the real situation when I was 7 and kicked the rice all over the floor, my mother might have grabbed the belt or just, or she would have done something else, right? But this is my imagination here. So just notice what happens when you play with your imagination. Okay, so I kicked the rice all over the floor and she gets so mad. She's livid. But I tell her I'm not doing it. And you can't make me. And maybe she grabs me and maybe we fight, But I managed to push her off of me and I lock myself in my bedroom. Okay, none of this happened at all. None of this ever happened at all, okay? Okay, but now I'm imagining myself in the bedroom. She's just mad and cursing, but I'm not kneeling on rice. I can tell you what actually happened is I knelt on that rice and I cried and I felt like a broken human being. And then about 20 minutes into it, my father saw it and basically said, "I think this is cruel," and then stopped her. Okay. But I can imagine, and that hurts. Remembering that story hurts, and that's why it's important to let yourself have the feelings first. But I can also use my imagination to say I wasn't going to put up with this. I locked myself in my room. Maybe when she finally calms down, I open the door again. There's a million ways I could imagine that situation differently now, right? Maybe I grab the rice and throw it back at her. Maybe I go get my father in the beginning. Maybe when she's yelling, I just ignore her. I just run to my room in the first place, right? Every single one of those things, imagining it differently, makes me feel, it kind of hurts to reimagine all this. But it's a moment where I feel more empowered. Because that little kid felt helpless when that occurred. Totally helpless. I was so afraid of my mother. But now I can see the adult me looking back on that situation. I can realize there were several things I could have done to stand up for myself then. I just didn't know any better. Okay? And just see what that feels like. See what that feels like today, right now, for me, for you. That little kid was so afraid then, but that when I search that little kid now, he's a little scared, a little sad, but not nowhere near as scared and sad now. I'm making space to tap into these feelings. Okay. Now that's not easy. This is years of me working on this. Okay. So if you're not there, I get it. But just know that's what you can do. Okay. Okay, and then the final phase is called consolidation. This final phase is mostly one of rest, so that all this healing can set and create a new you. All learning, healing requires rest. Do things like sleep, watch TV, focus on your new life, try something new. Get used to feeling just fine and doing mundane things without drama and conflict. Being at peace can feel real odd at first. As you build strength, you can go back to the preparation phase for what trauma is left. Again, this is a repeated process. Going through it over and over and over and over and over and over is how you build up the ability to heal the things you haven't yet addressed. Remember, take it in baby steps that you can handle. Inch by inch, life is a pinch. Yard by yard, life is hard. Okay? Take it in baby steps you can handle. Okay, my cat's eating something. Okay, so the next part is a series of exercises to help you deal with really difficult feelings. Okay, and I'm calling this trauma releasing exercises. While some of them may seem awkward or silly, all of them are based on strong trauma research. So please try them out during your meditation practice. Okay, a lot of us, we think meditation is just sitting in silence and holding ourselves in a lotus position or trying to stay still. But the truth is, stillness is the end result of working through your actual feelings. Okay, to not actually deal with your actual feelings, that's called spiritual bypassing. And that's something that many of us who are involved in Buddhist circles and things are very guilty of. Okay. Okay, so let's give these exercises a try. Number one is trauma-informed breathing. So we did the meditation exercise earlier so that you can learn how to breathe, right? Breathing always connects us to the present moment. Okay, so notice your breath. How deep or shallow is it? Is it in the chest or in the belly? First thing, try breathing slow. Try slowing down your breath. 1 second each in breath. 1 second each out breath. Okay, pause and feel. Seeing what these things do to our bodies. All right. That's an easy one. You can breathe slower at any moment. Okay, the other one is breathing fast. You may have a panic attack one day, and I have found that breathing fast can actually help us work through our feelings of panic. Okay, so let's say 2 seconds each. 1 second each. Faster. A little more. Pause and feel. Okay, that might make you feel more agitated. It can help stir up your feelings. Okay, next is forceful out breath. Pushing out the out breath. Like this. Pushing out the breath. often we get frustrated, and we do that naturally, right? Pause and feel. And the next one is consciously holding it in. Holding your breath. Let's go for 5 seconds the first time. Breathe. Maybe 6 seconds this time. Breathe. And then 7 seconds. And breathe. Pause and feel. Oh, my brain's in all kinds of popping. Okay, and the last one's nostril breathing. Pretty easy one. It's just in through one nostril, out through the other nostril. In through one, out through the other. Okay, pause and feel. Okay, those exercises might have been helpful. They might have felt weird. Whatever you felt, just notice. I do this with college students, so you know. Some of them, this is like day 2 of class, we do these exercises. So some of them are all weirded out that I'm making them move their body in a college class. Okay, next one is trauma yoga. Trauma makes us shut down and close up. So exercises that open up the body can help. And there's lots of exercises, obviously, yoga exercises you could do, but here's some basic exercises that you could do in a chair, since most of the time I'm teaching people who are sitting. Okay, so let's do these. The first one is shoulder taps. Just tapping your shoulder side to side. Remember, we're doing all this with mindfulness, right? So just notice your arms as they move side to side. Notice your waist. Is your waist turning, or is it just your arms? Is your neck turning with all of this, or is it just your arms? Okay, so shoulder taps. Okay, next is a face stretch. Face stretch. Okay, first one is smile. Just smile. Stretch all those muscles. Really go for it. The best smile you've ever given, okay? Like, I see Donald Trump has this smile for photographs. People often have this smile they put on for photographs. So what's your best photograph smile? Okay, lifting your eyebrows, really stretching your cheeks. Get all the teeth showing. See what that feels like. Just 5 seconds, okay? Okay, pause and feel. Pause and feel. Whew. Okay, next is the neck stretch. Moving your neck side to side. Oh, my microphone might fall off my ear. Up and down. I don't think this is actually on anyway, so. Well, I should get used to keeping this thing in my ear. It's going to be my new thing for the year, all these online videos I have to make. Next week, I'm going to start, I go to work full-time online, and I'm also going to school full-time starting next week. So let me just tell you how eager I am, but also incredibly anxious and burnt out. I'm tired. So I got to think about how I'm going to make it through next week. Might be a lot of stress going on there, so I might need to do a lot of these neck stretches. Okay. Pause and feel. Okay, next is arm raises. Pretty simple stuff, just lifting your arms up and putting them back down. Lifting your arms up, putting them back down. Okay, while we're at it, we'll do the next one, which is sticking out your tongue. Okay, that's another exercise that when we get angry, we clench our jaw. So sticking out your tongue. Relaxes all those muscles in your jaw. Yeah, one more time. Now, needless to say, this would be weird as hell if you did this during like a board meeting, an office meeting. You know, you just randomly start doing. People are gonna probably have something to say, okay? But in terms of your own healing, I can't begin to tell you how useful these things are. Okay, even if you're in the middle of the meditation hall, everyone's in silence, but you feeling something painful and you just go, you'll feel better. I promise you, you'll feel better. Okay. Okay, and then the final one is hugs. Just giving yourself a hug. See what it's like to give yourself. See what it's like to give yourself a hug. Okay. I read somewhere you need, 12 hugs a day to thrive. And you need at least 3 to survive. Okay, so by that measure, how many hugs did you get today? Now, including this one, it kind of does make 3. I got one for my cat. I think I gave myself one earlier. And I got this one, okay? And I'm fortunate to be a person who, prior to COVID-19, and because I teach social emotional learning, I get people who hug me all the time. Since COVID-19, though, the amount of hugs I get have really dropped off. So I've had to really pick up the slack and hug myself a lot more. And I'm, like I just said, it was 3 today, right? So I could do a lot more hugging. Okay, see how it feels to give yourself a hug. This might feel hella weird. You might have already put your hands down by now. See what it feels like to give yourself a hug. And if it feels awkward, uncomfortable, silly, a waste of time, any one of those kinds of feelings, well, then ask yourself, why is hugging yourself a waste of time? Who the hell taught you that to hug yourself would be a waste of time? Okay, that's something really worth sitting with. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. The next one here, number 3, is trauma release exercises, or TRE. Okay, so some smart people figured out that animals, when they're in the wild, they get, chased by an animal, their fight or flight response kicks in, and then when they're free of the animal, animals tend to naturally just spontaneously shake off the stress that they went through. Okay. Well, that natural shaking is a part of all of us, human beings included. It's just that many of us have been trained to not do that by society, right? So something traumatic happens to you as an adult, you're often trained to keep it together and look cool and minimize any kind of reaction. But the natural animal way of doing things is to shake it out. Okay, so allow yourself, and actually our body will do this on its own. So if you let yourself just sit real still and you're open to it, You can just let your hands naturally shake, your legs naturally shake. Some people, their feet, they have that, what's called restless leg syndrome, if you want to call that. But that's a real thing anyway. Well, if you want to call it a syndrome anyway, whatever. But just let your body naturally just shake. Just naturally shake. Instead of fighting that or ignoring it, really encourage yourself to let it out, okay? And see how that feels, okay? And particularly, you want to shake the area that's like your hips, your midsection. So that's where a lot of the trauma, you store a lot of trauma in what's called the Psoas muscle, okay? It's the muscle that connects your upper body to your lower body. And pause and feel. This one's obviously hard to do in front of a camera or in front of a bunch of other people. So, feel free to lay down in bed and practice this one. Again, you lay in bed with your partner and start shaking spontaneously. People are going to think weird things. I'm telling you, this could be the thing you need for your healing. Okay. Okay, next is emotional freedom technique or tapping. So an emotional freedom technique is EFT. It's literally just tapping parts of your body to move around your energy, which helps you to process your feelings, okay? And so it's like this. I tend to tap like this. One hand, then the other hand, head, chest, heart, stomach, and then I do the knees, and then I repeat the process. Okay. Another important point here is you can do this, you can put messages into all of this. So the frustration I feel about 2020, all the frustration I'm feeling about 2020. I do not know what to do with all this frustration I feel about 2020. I feel so much frustration about 2020. I release the frustration I feel. I release this frustration so that I can fill myself up with peace. I release this frustration so I can fill myself up with peace. I fill myself up with peace. I release this frustration and fill myself up with peace. You can also slow it down too. I release this frustration to fill myself up with peace. I release this frustration to fill myself up with peace. Whew. Now, my cat came in all of a sudden right there, and that made me a little startled, but I gotta say, this exercise also definitely relaxed me. It made it easier to handle that sudden moment. Okay, there's another one that I like to do called sleep tapping that I saw on a TED Talk. It was funny because the TED Talk was a musician who figured this out. He didn't apply any sort of psychological information to it, and yet the guy got a TED Talk. But whatever, it seems like everybody got a TED Talk these days. I feel like I should have a TED Talk too. But anyway, this is called sleep tapping. So instead of like tapping your whole body, you can just tap one spot, like your heart, or maybe your shoulders. And you can just tap one spot, keep a rhythm going, and you could just say sleep, rest, rest. You need rest, rest. And then slow down the tapping. Slow yourself down into rest. Slow it all down till you eventually stop. And pause and feel. Now, giving all these examples, but I didn't tell you to specifically think of something traumatic while you do all these. I wanted to keep it kind of easy. But needless to say, you may want to replay this part of the video and try all these exercises thinking of something traumatic so you can see the effectiveness of this, if you don't see the effectiveness of this already, okay? Okay, number 5 is EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So some other smart person figured out that if you give your eyes something to focus on, your back brain will process feelings on its own. So if you move your hand from one end of your visual field to the other, make sure those eyeballs just move from one end to the other, your back brain will naturally start doing stuff all on its own. You might even right now start to notice your back brain is like little pops and cracks, crackles. Okay, brain tingles they call it. Okay, you get really good at this. You don't even need to use your finger. You can just move your eyes from side to side. And actually, when we get nervous or when we get scared, we actually do this already. We get really afraid, and then our eyes scan side to side like this, right? And that's one reason for doing that is to look out for danger. And the other reason is to process feelings, right? So all this is really just tapping into our body's natural psychology, biology, physiology, natural stuff, okay? You can also put messages into this too. Rest. Allow yourself to rest. You read a lot today. You're doing a lot putting this class together. You need rest. Let those eyeballs rest. I highly recommend doing these exercises before you go to bed. It's funny. I struggle with sleeping well at night. I don't have a problem going to bed. It's just at 2 a.m. I have panic attacks. And doing all these exercises will help you, help you to get through a panic attack. But once you have a panic attack at 2 a.m. in the morning, it's hard to go back to sleep. It's just the truth of it, okay? If you've been there, you know. Okay, and then we have our last one, my all-time personal favorite, crying, screaming, and whining, okay? Crying and screaming are the body's natural way to unrepressed trauma. Whining is high-pitched emotional utterances that let out our feelings of stress and fear. However, many of us are taught, boys don't cry, suck it up, put a lid on it, play cool, or be quiet or it'll get worse instead of letting it out. So to cry, find a place where you feel super safe. Just so you all know, I had to teach myself how to cry at 30 years old. Okay, I had a horrifically bad breakup where I didn't know how to process. So I had to teach myself how to cry at 30. Okay, that was 8 years ago. So to cry, find a place where you feel super safe. A bedroom, into a pillow, in your car, under a blanket, the park. Put on sad music or remember something sad. Put your hands on your heart and sink into the energy there. Let yourself sink down to the bottom of the pain. Don't cry for 2 seconds and go back to normal. It's not pleasant, but it will help your body process the feelings. Screaming pushes out the feelings so that you can cry them up. It also teaches you to use your voice if you have ever been forced to be silent. Okay, that's how to cry and scream. Okay, and then whining. Whining is letting out our stress by emoting sounds of frustration. It's more about feelings than rational complaints. So instead of school is unfair, school is full of unfair requirements, it's emotionally more productive to say, school is too damn hard. Or just a straight up, Okay, believe it or not, I didn't believe this until someone explained it to me. I watched a video by Iyanla Van Zandt, who's a spiritual psychological person. She has a YouTube channel. She's wonderful. But she explained this, but that basically whining is not about, like, we tend to have an emotional whine, but then we move into complaining behavior. But instead of moving into complaining, if you just straight up just whine it out like a child, you can get much further. It is emotionally more productive to just have the 5-year-old whining like a child than it is to complain like an adult does. Okay? So that might seem a little counterintuitive for you, but I would highly recommend giving that a shot. Just, instead of complaining about COVID-19 and everybody not wearing masks and not taking it seriously, and so now this quarantine is going to last forever and people need to get it together. And I don't believe why people don't support science. And I can't believe how politicized something as stupid as a mask became. Instead of all that, you could go, people in the mask. Okay. Now, again, if you do that at a board meeting, there are several office meetings. I would love to have had a whining breakdown like that. Okay. But if I did that at an office meeting as an adult, I probably, it might make it hard for me to keep my job, right? But I will say it could very well be the thing you need to do to learn how to heal. Okay, so definitely practice it in private. You can easily get into your car, scream, cry, and whine in your car. And I mean, maybe if you're in a parking lot, maybe one person might see you, but the odds are high no one will see you. Worst comes to worst, you can pull over on the side of the road and do it. Okay, but to find a place where you feel safe enough to do these things, because it's what we need to do to get in touch with our feelings of trauma. Okay, it's just the truth of it. Okay, playing it cool does not get in touch with our feelings. Playing it cool guarantees your feelings will stay trapped inside. Okay, and playing it cool might be great for surviving the streets, but it won't get you a happy life. It won't get you. The open sensitivity and nurturing you need to be a happy human being. Okay, it's a survival skill. Okay, so that is how to heal from trauma. Hey, let me take a moment and just recopy the Google Doc here in case anybody else didn't get it the first time around. Okay, so that is healing from trauma. Okay. We have one last exercise, so why don't we go ahead and get into it. These are all things that take lots of practice, okay? So just know that, okay? I put this out here, and then next week is going to be another video. I just want to make it clear that none of this is easy, and it takes lots of time and effort. And again, please revisit these videos many times, okay? Okay, so our final exercise is on how to tell yourself the truth. Because I realized putting all this together that if you get in touch with your feelings, but you don't ever tell yourself the truth, then you're doing yourself a really huge disservice, right? Okay, and this actually comes from a person I really like called Teal Swan. She's a spiritual psychic person. She's on YouTube also, so you can Google her. This particular video I couldn't find anymore, but she has a whole ton of videos, hundreds. So feel free to go watch them. Okay, so here's how to tell yourself the truth. Obviously, telling the truth is an important part of developing a strong, healthy relationship with ourselves and others. For many of us, however, the truth can be either too uncomfortable or scary to embrace, especially when the truth may force us to alter our sense of reality or identity. We often don't tell the truth when something happens that we can't handle emotionally, such as when we're in danger, when we risk losing something important, when who we are isn't good enough to get what we want, or when who we think we are isn't good enough to get what we want, and when we are trained by parents, adults, society, or ourselves into denial, rejection, rationalizations, and avoidance as coping mechanisms. While we often treat the truth as something stable, permanent, and objective, most truth is one part what people believe or all agree is accurate, and one part how your subjective emotional range is reacting to information. Our personal truth may be totally different from someone else's or what society says is true. In Buddhism, telling the truth is always balanced against compassion. Saying true things without kindness can be cruel, and saying kind things that are not true, or lies, can lead to mistrust and hurt. So, one way to deal with the difficult feelings around the truth is to explore our emotional range from negative to positive. A full truth involves expressing all of your anger, hurt, fear, understanding, and love. You can use the fingers of your hand as a way to remember this. Find a problem or issue about your life, yourself, or the world that you feel is causing you stress. Start with anger, and for each one, allow yourself to get out all of the thoughts, feelings you are having before you go on to the next one. When you get to 4, understanding, also examine the frustrations of life, our assumptions, expectations, beliefs, judgments, preferences, requirements, and attempts to manipulate and control. If you have trouble with anger, try other words like frustrated or bothered, or try sadness or stress. Remember, you can always choose whether you want to tell someone else the truth because they may or may not want to hear it. But if you lie to yourself, you risk throwing your whole world into confusion and unconscious self-sabotage. Since you don't have all the info you would need to take responsibility and make good decisions, everything you do to address your problems won't work either, which can lead to hopelessness, resentment, and deep insecurities. In contrast, the truth gives us a solid, powerful foundation to build a life based on honesty and integrity. Or as they say, the truth will set you free. Okay, so this is a pretty easy one. It's anger, hurt, fear, understanding, and love. Anger, hurt, fear, understanding, and love. And so all you have to do is start with one and go through the whole cycle. Okay. So if I picked Trump earlier, so let's just go with that. So anger. I'm angry that Donald Trump gets so much airtime to say things with so little intelligence. I'm angry that he has so much power. I'm angry that he says so many ignorant things, racist things, mean-spirited things, self-absorbed, selfish things. I'm angry that he's our president. I'm angry that I have to reference him all the time. I'm angry that he's in control of the COVID-19 response. I'm angry. Yeah, I'm angry I gotta see him on TV all the time. That's the main one. Anything else? Okay, get all the feelings out. So get all the feelings out. I'm angry. I'm angry that he's just, this is gonna sound mean at this point, but I'm angry that he's just so fat. He's fat, and he's like, just like not even trying to do anything about it. Just totally like, ugh. He just makes me so angry how poor he cares about his own health. And I apologize for any fat shaming I just did now. I'm getting out my feelings, but I do want to apologize for any fat shaming. Anything else makes me angry? I'm angry that I have to go to fat shaming to try to insult him because I'm so pissed off about dealing with him. Okay, 2, hurt. I'm hurt that our tax money is going to a government that is so horribly mismanaged. I'm hurt that this person said he took the job to care about all Americans, but he clearly only cares about some of them. And it's certainly not me. I'm hurt. I'm hurt that I've got so much energy invested into complaining about this problem, and yet I can't do anything about it really to stop him. I'm hurt by that. I'm hurt at how powerless I feel dealing with Donald Trump. Okay, next, fear. Fear. I'm afraid that my efforts won't get me anywhere. I won't be able to stop him from doing anything. I'm afraid he's going to do so many bad things and it'll result in I'll lose my job, or the economic situation will get worse, or more people will die of COVID-19, or I will die of COVID-19. Yeah, I'm afraid I'll get sick and suffer as a result of his stupidity. I'm afraid that all my efforts to protect myself won't work. I'm afraid that I'll do everything and it will work, but then, Donald Trump will come up with one more thing and then screw it all up. He'll suddenly pass something and it'll affect only black people, and suddenly I'll have to deal with that. Or it'll just affect Californians, and I'll have to deal with that. Okay. I'm afraid I won't have the energy to outlive Donald Trump. I won't have the energy to make it through all this. Maybe I'll make it through this, but then I'll have to deal with the next thing. I won't have the energy to deal with the next thing. I'm afraid of what's going to happen next. Hey, 4 is understanding. What about this can I say I understand? Having sat with these feelings, I understand that I'm frustrating myself. I understand that if I keep ramping up every single thing Donald Trump did, of course I'm making myself upset. If I made a list of every single thing I didn't like about anyone, it would probably make me upset. I've never actually met Donald Trump, and yet he occupies so much of my mental space. Right? That's not really Donald Trump, that's me. That's me. I assume I need to watch TV regularly to know what's going on. But, I probably could take a day or a week off, and I probably would miss out on one thing, but I could catch up on it next week. And then I could be one whole week that I just don't watch the news at all, and I don't have to deal with that stress. Whatever happens on the news, I know that I have to manage my stress. I can't expect Donald Trump to do it. He's not doing a good job of that at all. What else? What other understandings? I believe everything he's doing is bad and wrong and not helpful. That's just my belief. There's people here who believe what he's doing is the right thing, right? If I waited long enough and was really patient, I might be able to think of at least one thing he's doing that might be a positive. Maybe. He is trying to hold China accountable for all of this, and I guess that's some kind of positive thing somewhere. At either rate, my frustration I can see is me. It's not just Donald Trump. It's how much do I allow him to come into my inner space, and how much am I obsessing over him? I went through a similar thing with George Bush, where I had to make a decision that how much exposure to this person do I want to have in my life, because this person's an idiot. We all have to think about the people who are unsafe, who are not smart, the people who don't feel are right for us. We all have to make decisions about how much do we want to keep those people in our lives, right? Okay, so that was anger, hurt, fear, understanding. Oh, there was one more, control. Let's see. In understanding, we always look at our assumptions, expectations, judgments, control. So I am definitely trying to control Donald Trump by judging him as negative. Clearly, I'm trying to control Donald Trump by judging him. Okay, that's obvious. Okay, and then the final one is love. Is there anything about this situation that you can say you love? Okay, now I started off saying how much I can't stand Donald Trump. So is there anything about this situation with Donald Trump I could say I love? Part of me could say I love complaining. I get something out of complaining about it so much, that's for sure. Gives me something to stir. I can talk about what I think the world ought to be. So it gives me some a feeling of authority, superiority, however momentary. Anything about this situation? In its own way, complaining about Donald Trump allows me to articulate myself as a American. I get to exercise some sort of civic duty, civic engagement by complaining about Donald Trump, how he's screwing up the country. I could say I love how many people, I'm not the only person who has this opinion, right? As of late, his polling is so low that the vast majority of Americans are not in favor of Donald Trump at this point. So one reason why I love about this is that it's allowed me to realize that some people in America, see it the way I see it, have their head on correctly. I was about to say that the huge chunks of America see it the way I see it. I love that, and I probably wouldn't have known that if it hadn't been for someone like Donald Trump doing what he's doing. Yeah, I love how much this has mobilized people into activism. Now, what is there anything I could say I love about the COVID-19 situation? Well, I love how his mismanagement. His mismanagement is. I feel like his mismanagement makes me realize how much I love like good bosses, people who actually know what they're doing, people who are actually really good at their jobs. It makes me really, really, really appreciate that. I love that even while Donald Trump is president, he doesn't run my life. He doesn't run my apartment. He doesn't run my day to day. If I want to go a whole day without hearing the word Donald Trump, I can make that happen. I want to go a whole month without hearing the word Donald Trump. I can make that happen if I want to. I love that I have so much more choice than I thought I had. I love that I'm frustrating myself. That's big. Instead of blaming him, I can take responsibility for my feelings. Okay. All right. So you see how this process works. Okay. Hurt, pain, fear, understanding, and love. This allows you to cycle through your feelings really fast. Okay. So it's a great introductory exercise for getting in touch with your feelings, right? Really quickly. So I would encourage anyone watching this to please practice learning how to meditate a bit. Practice getting in touch with your feelings. And practice these trauma exercises. I promise you this will really help. I promise you this will really help for getting in touch with our feelings as we move into more deeper exercises later on. Okay. So I am going to post this stuff into the actual like links or the comment section of this video, so that you all can access the actual material. And if you like this stuff, please come next week. Tell more people about it. And I will work out all these technical problems between now and next week, hopefully. And if you have any questions, and ideally, please get people to log in, sign up, and then we can run through whatever feelings you're actually having in these videos, okay? And they're all going to be about 2 hours long, okay? Okay. Well, that's all I have to say. So with that, I wish you all a good night, a farewell. Good luck taking care of your feelings. It is your job to manage your emotional life. No one else is going to do it for you. So good luck. Okay. See you next week.